Bruh. Bruh. Whew. Man. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. Uh, there won't be multiple refresh for this one, folks. If you're waiting for me to talk about this one, here I am. Man, and we've got a doozy. Episode 6 of Snowfall is here. It's called Concrete Jungle. So after last week's episode and the way that I ended it with Franklin just being about that life now, you knew things were going to speed up a little bit with the season. I did not know that they were going to go 1,000 miles per hour. Teddy makes a call to an old blast from the past from Julia to kind of just give her the heads up that, hey, you should be on the run. Get our kid, protect them because Franklin's coming. He's already made a hit out on my dad, and he is doing things to other people that I love, and you are two of them. So people are on their way to protect you. Get out of that house. He then tells his handler that, hey, we need to watch everything that Franklin owns, his penthouse, the shelter, any of those places. We need to keep an eye on it. He's not dumb enough to pop his head out, but if he does, we'll be ready. Franklin, V, and Cassandra return from Kansas City, and they're housed in Arizona before they make their way back to LA. And like I said, I thought it was going to be both of them, but Cassandra's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm off this trip. Whatever it is you're doing, Franklin, I don't want to be a part of it. You are off the hinges, and I no longer want to be here. She also says, but she speaks as if she's speaking for both of them. And she tells them that, V, you need to come with me now. You need an escape plan. You don't want to have your life tied to this man who is unhinged. He will, the second something goes wrong or doesn't go his way, he will just throw you away. Cassandra says to him that he's a monster in front of his face and says that my daughter and I want to come and we're going to go and take some time away from you. And Franklin asks V, she's like, is that what you want? And V's like, no, I'm going to be with you. I'd rather stay with you because you've never raised a hand to me. You've always been honest with me. And that's the one thing I will say, even though she had never actually seen Franklin kind of snap off and go on the deep end, Franklin's never lied to her or hidden any of this from her, whereas Cassandra has been cagey with men, has had people hit. Seems there's been abuse there. There's been abandonment. Everything that she has seen V do negative things to her. She has not seen that from Franklin. So she's going to go with the devil she knows and the devil she trusts. So she's like, nope, riding down with Franklin. And they take off, and Cassandra just left her on the tarmac by herself. Franklin kind of gives her a smile like, thought you had this one, didn't you? Nope, she's coming with me. We catch up with Uso. We don't hear what the DEA saying, but we see that they chewing him out. They are ripping him a new one. And in that, they are basically threatening that the deal that they have together is off the table. And that they're now going to put him dead to rights if he doesn't deliver Teddy in some form or fashion. So he goes back and tells his girl that, and his girl's like, well, is the deal that Franklin offered you still on the table? Can we still go do that? Mind you, this is after Gustavo tells her that Franklin has just killed Teddy's dad. She's like, cool. So he's about that life then. Can we go talk to him? Can you get that deal with him? Because he seems to be our best option. And then we pick up with Jerome. So after we last saw Jerome, he threw his pager into the trash can. And he was getting drunk. That drunken night continued on as Louie can't find him, hasn't found him. She's at the compound. She's like, I don't know where he's at. No one's seen him or heard from him. He comes home drunk, driving his car, drunk driving, hits a pot, and they get into a bit of a heated argument. And in this argument, Jerome is just telling her, I'm done. I'm out. I don't want to be a part of this anymore. He starts saying that none of what we're doing is worth this. None of it. Not the money, not me trying to kill my nephew, trying to kill my family. Like, none of what we're doing is worth this. I'm done. I'm out. And he's interested, can you be out too because you love me? Like, can you be out because you love me? Like, I'm in this now because I loved you. Can you return that favor and do that for me? And he's like, you are effed up. You're broken, and I've done everything possible to fix you, but I'm done. I'm tired. I can't fix you anymore. I give all of that up. And it's coming from the heart. Like, while people say what they truly mean when they're drunk, and Jerome means every bit of what he's saying. But she doubles up and is like, oh, you don't really mean anything. He's like, no, that might be the realest thing that I've ever said in my entire life to you. And then he goes off to bed. Franklin meets up with Wanda, Lee, his mama, and V. They have a discussion about, hey, like, you guys can't go to the shelter anymore. He lets them know that, like, I killed Teddy's dad. And you can't just be popping around like you used to anymore. Because he's going to be trying to find out where we are. I'm trying to play back whack-a-mole. And Sissy sort of asked him, like, is this what you want? Like, if this was your plan all the time? And Franklin's like, well, we smoked him out. Now he's going to be coming after me. He's going to be rattled. He's going to be vulnerable. When he pokes his head out, we'll be able to get him. We're basically bringing him to us now. And so we'll be ready for when he is. He also tries to tell them to, like, hey, Mom, Sissy, come stay with me. Come stay with us. We'll sort of protect you. And she's like, no, I'm staying here. Lee has a point. Teddy ain't coming to the projects. He may be dumb enough to go to some other place, but in the projects, he ain't coming out of there because he won't get out of there alive if he tries anything there. So they feel like they overall are protected in the projects. This is where some things start getting interesting in this episode. Teddy's a bit of a loose cannon, if you will. Teddy goes to meet Ruben unarmed. Knocks on his door. I'm like, hey, let's have some coffee. Let's chat. He says this will probably be the last time that we can see each other before it's too late, which is ominous. But he's essentially saying, look, I'm giving you an out. We're not much different from each other. We're kind of the same. We're both these loners who this job has consumed us, and we don't have anybody else that cares about us. We sort of lived in this box. He also starts to throw in, like, I do drug stuff. You do whatever it is you do. May not be received well by the world for most. He's alluding to the fact that he's gay. He's saying that's not accepted by some people, just like my drug stuff. So we're both bad people. Not the same, Teddy. Not the same. But he's trying to find a way in to say, hey, just walk away. Like, whatever it is you were planning to do, whatever it is you have going, go to your people, say, hey, I was wrong. What he's doing is not that big of a deal. And let's just bygones be bygones. Because the next time I see you, if this isn't what we decide or what you decide, the next time I see you, I'm going to kill you. And just walks out and leaves. My boy Teddy is not wrapped too tight. We then followed the next morning, and Jerome and Louie have a conversation with a lot less drunk Jerome, a lot more calm between the two of them. But he's already said how he actually truly feels about this. But Louie gets a little bit honest. She says, like, she apologizes that their life has become what it is. She says she knew that Franklin would be upset that she went over him to go to Teddy. She did not expect Teddy to take his money and thus Franklin react the way he's like. She didn't expect those domino effects. And that's her naivete, she says, a bit, to not seeing all of that through. This is where she sort of started laying in a bit of a guilt trip. And this is important when you look back at the scene that happened with Dee and Jerome in the previous episode, when he kind of dismisses her and kind of winks at her and calls her B, calls her out her name, and everybody sort of has been doing that. She feels that her worth is not up to the level. Like, she has the money, she has all this, but her level of respect or her worth in this game, how she's been the one doing all the moves and making all the moves, nobody respects her. They all do the deals with him, the man. They all do the deals with him. Everything goes with Jerome. They all take him serious, but nobody takes her serious. And she wants that. And Jerome was like, are you serious? Like, that's worth dying over? That's worth doing all this for? And she sort of alludes to that it is. Which is unfortunate as the rest of this episode pays out. But she wants to be the face. She wants to earn the respect. But she's willing to sort of get out, but she needs some time. She says, Jerome, give me some time. I've made some promises to Teddy. She's promised some things here, promised some things there that she needs to do first to sort of clean everything up. But Jerome's just ready to go. And she's like, well, I can't quite do that yet. She receives a page from Sully to be like, hey, come, we got a drop to do. So she's like, I go do it. Jerome's like, no, you figure out the promises you got to fix and get all together. I'll go handle that. Teddy tells Clarissa that it might be best if they sort of split apart until this Franklin situation is over, until he kills Franklin. And she's like, well, is that the only way that we can sort of be together, is if you kill Franklin? I don't know if that's a good of an option. And then Teddy says to her, the one bright spot that he sort of has in his life is Clarissa. And everyone else either goes away, runs away, or just ends up out of his life. And so he's leaving it up to her to decide what she wants to do. If she wants to be here with him while this all is going on, he would love to have that. But I don't he's like, I don't want to put anything on you or make you make a decision that, I'm making for you. I'm leaving it up to you. And she's a weird girl, but she is madly in love with that thought, or that she's getting to choose whether or not she sticks around. She's like, that's one of the most romantic things, blah, blah, blah. He's got her. Teddy is a crazy boy, and Parissa is right there with her. Franklin and Uso meet on the rooftop to discuss the plan. Gustavo is going to go with Franklin on this, and Franklin's kind of like, I hear Teddy's a little upset with me, and Gustavo's like, yeah, you can say that. But basically, Gustavo wants an out. He wants a plan. And the original deal was to do 10 million, and Franklin's like, well, I don't have the 10 million on me. Like, the 10 mil would have to come after we do the whole thing. And Gustavo's like, that's not going to work for me. I'll take 1 million. He's like, well, yeah, I can get you to 1 million. And he's like, and I also need passports for me and my family. Franklin writes down the number of his passport person, his passport connect, writes it down, tell him I sent you, tell him I'll pay him for it. I got you. Is that all you need? He's like, yeah, that's all I need. Cool. Gustavo then says, hey, I'll do all this for you. I'll make it all happen. I just need one favor from you. When you see Teddy, when you have him, I need you to kill him. And Franklin's like, yo, bet. That's all you need? That's the one, man, that's the easiest promise I've ever made in my life. I will kill that mother. And he's serious about that. So that is the deal. He has his way in. He has his plan to go ahead and take care of Teddy. And Gustavo's going to sort of deliver him on a hand platter, on a silver platter for him. This is where the episode takes a very intense turn. We sort of saw the writing on the wall, but Kane's people are still scouting the stable. They know that eventually, they keep taking turns, somebody's eventually going to show up. And then Louie does show up there. She's trying to get sort of her brain. That's her relaxed moment, her peaceful moment. When she ever has tense situations, that's where she goes to sort of find recuperation. She goes there, and whenever she rides, she takes her gun off. So she hands her gun to her security people. She goes for a ride, and then the ambush happens, and Kane's people grab her. Kane pages Franklin to let him know that he's got his big fish and gives him the address of where to come, and Franklin arrives. Before he does, though, Kane is kind of going back and forth with Louie to just give up the name of the police officer, the quick cop that set him up. Obviously, we all know this as an audience. He doesn't know this, but Franklin knows the name already. Like, he knows Buckley. Like, he's got the cop's name. I don't know. He doesn't know where he's at, per se, but he's got the cop's name and can probably find it out. But this is all about Louie. So he's torturing Louie. He's punching her. He's kicking her. He's giving her the business. And Louie is being steadfast in her decision. She's like, I'm not giving that up. Franklin shows up, and the security guy asks to take his gun, take his weapon. And he kind of gives him something like, man, I'm Franklin. Like, I'm keeping my gun. Kane asked me to be here. Back up off. And he's like, all right, cool. He lets him in. And they sort of all know him. He's been there before. They know him. So he comes in. They ask him as he's going into the main room where Kane is holding Louie, you good? He just kind of gives a smile like, all right, yeah, I'm good. He goes in and Kane is like, I invited you here because when I get my information, when I'm done with her, you can go ahead and end it. And Franklin's like, no, you go ahead and take care of that. That's you. That's all you. And Kane sort of starts speaking soliloquies about when he was young and had to be forced to brand the cows on his farm when he was a 9-year-old, and it stuck with him. And then he starts branding Louie. Starts burning hot iron into Louie's chest while Franklin sits there and watches it without making a move. Now, he doesn't have the most affinity for Louie in this moment anyway, because of everything that Louie has done. But he also can't really turn on Kane in this point either. Even if he wanted to do something about Louie, he's sort of stuck in a rock and a hard place because he's severely outnumbered there. He's there as a guest. If he makes any wrong move, he's done for regardless. So he starts branding her a couple more times and she's putting a K on her chest for Kane. But she's still not giving up anything. She spits at him. It's like, cool. She's like, all right, bet. I'm going to have to do a little bit more breaking here with you. I got a lot of folks that just got out and they love them a nice red bone. So we don't have a party tonight. So he's basically alluding that he's going to bring people here to sexually have their way with Louie, like just have a gang bang. To which they leave Franklin there with her, and they have a moment. They talk a bit. It's at that point Franklin says, "Hey, just give them the name. Maybe they'll show you mercy. Maybe they'll let you go, but you got to give them that name because what they plan to do to you after this has got to be far worse than just taking a death and taking a quick death. Just hope that they end this mercifully." And she's like, "You did this to me," and he kind of just chuckles and walks away. As he's walking away, Louie makes that last ditch effort, like, "Hey, look, I can give Teddy to you." Unfortunately, we saw in the scene before, he's already made a deal to get Teddy. And so that last ditch effort doesn't matter to him. That's irrelevant to him. Which he tells her. He's like, "No, I'm sorry, Louie. I already got my way in with Teddy." He just leaves her there. So she knows at that moment, that's it. That if he's walking out, there's nothing else that can be done for her. She's sort of at the mercy of Kane and whatever pack of wolves he decides to let in there on her. Franklin drives away knowing that he just got his aunt killed. But I think more important than that, I think what's really going on in his head is that he's getting his uncle's wife killed. I don't know if this was if she wasn't married to Jerome, or they once had a connection, but that has been broken. And I feel like he doesn't really care about her so much as like his uncle. And so he cares about him and what this would do to him. So he pages him, but Jerome ain't answering. And at the last they left, he was smacking him. He was smacking the crap out of him in the coffee place, in the diner. So they're not talking. So Franklin's next idea, let me call up Lee. So he calls up Lee. He's like, "Lee, pay Jerome. He may not listen to you, but let him know what's going on." And he does. And Jerome gets through to Jerome. Jerome's with Sully, and he's like, "Yo, round up the troops. We got to go and get her out of there." Now, Jerome tries to call Buck, but he's high as a kite. She's no good. So there's no police presence that's going to come in and help in this situation. So Franklin and Lee are at a garage getting prepped about the situation, and then Jerome and his crew pull up. Jerome is heated. He's like, "This ain't where is she? Where's the spot?" And Franklin's like, "Look, you can't just go into that place guns blazing because then they'll know that I'm the one who ratted you out. We got to have a plan. You got to think a little bit." And at that point, Jerome pulls a gun on Franklin's head and is like, "I'm going to take you out right here." And Franklin pulls the gun a little closer to him and says, "You're going to kill me, but you're never going to find out where Louie is. So you can kill me now, or we can stop wasting time and giving them folks who are about to have their way with Louie more time to get the job done." The next part we see is Franklin pulls back up to the spot where Louie's being held. Now, the guard that was there originally who saw him is there again. He's still finishing up his shift. And there's another guard there that's about to swap with him. My man says, "Hey, yo, we got to search the car." The guy who saw him earlier was like, "Nah, he's good. They ain't got to worry about that." We all know that they probably have him in there, so that is what allows him to get through. And Franklin's cool as a cucumber through all of this. So they pull in. He pops the trunk, and then when he pops the trunk, Jerome comes out of the trunk and kills the guard that's at the gate. The other one who was there has gone. And then they bring in a couple more cars. They bring in Sully, they bring in Lee, they bring in a few more guns they have in there. And then Franklin goes into the main part of the warehouse that they have, sort of just asks where Kane is. And he said, "Oh yeah, he had a call. He stepped out for a minute, but he's still there." But he's like, "I'm gonna let Kane know." Once he says that Kane's not present, that's when Franklin starts firing, and they clean house. I mean, it gets wild in there. They are taking out bodies left and right. People are getting killed on both sides. It gets pretty violent, but it ends up to a point where it's a stalemate, where Jerome gets into the room where Louie was, and it looked like Louie unfortunately was being sodomized, or at least at the very start of it. And Kane grabs Louie by gunpoint, and Jerome has his gun trained on Kane, and they're at a standstill. Franklin is out looking for Lee, and Sully's watching the roof to make sure no one else comes. So it's just the three of them in that room. And there's a little bit back and forth talking about how they're the OGs and all this, and you know how this is going to play. And then they have a shootout. Louie is able to kind of scurry off to the side a little bit, and then when she does, they just fire at each other. Kane is down, but you can also see that there's a bullet that goes right through the chest of Jerome, and Jerome goes down. And then obviously Louie is just devastated. She keeps screaming to him to get up. Obviously, that's not happening, and you start seeing some of the major players that are connected with Jerome come in. Sully comes in. You can see that he's really taken aback by this. Leon's broken. He's down on one knee. Between Louie screaming to get up and whatnot, and then Franklin just kind of giving out this confused "unk" scream, screaming "unk" over and over again until he sits down, just looking shocked. The two of them together kind of broke me a little bit. It's a very devastating loss to multiple people. It's going to change the course. They won't be friends. They won't be cordial, but it's definitely going to change the relationship between Louie and Franklin. But she's also aware that this all happened. She is saved because of Franklin. She would be in far worse shape or dead if it wasn't for Franklin. And I think she would also sort of realize that Franklin couldn't do anything in the initial part because he would have been outnumbered. But yeah, it's definitely going to change that. Sissy is not going to be right. We don't see her reaction to this. She's not going to be well at all in this. So this is going to have a sort of a cascading effect on several people. Not to mention, this doesn't even include the whole Teddy aspect and Gustavo aspect of it all. This is just about the Saints, and we took a major player off the board who, for better or worse, he was the heartbeat of all of this. He was the soul. And the reason why you take someone like this as your writer, you take someone like this off the board because he's the one who actively kept saying, I don't want to be a part of this. And it's always the person who is sort of just in this because of people he loves or because he's an innocent bystander. Those are the ones that hurt the most when you take them off the board because Jerome's done. Jerome didn't want to be a part of this. He wanted to just live a normal life. He wanted to go back to music. He wanted to be a producer. He wanted to do all of the things that, hell, just have him lifting weights in the front yard. That's what he wanted. But he wanted to do that with the woman he loved and his son, nephew, that he loved as well. And unfortunately, they got him wrapped up into this seedy underbelly where he's getting shot at, having to run from guns, shooting at people, killing people. There's a lot of blood on his hands, but blood that he didn't want to be there. And now he is gone because of it. Kane is gone as well. Most of his crew is gone. It's going to be interesting if any retaliation happens because they do know the one guard that ran away does know who was responsible for this. So he's sort of that dangling participle of that whole crew. So if anything does happen, it could be something so simple as like, yeah, Franklin and them could get away. But this guy comes back, okay, Franklin, and just takes him out. Who knows? Because that's the one little dangling, hanging piece of all of that. Powerful episode, though. Like, very powerful. You knew somebody was going to die, but it doesn't hurt any less when it's somebody who was as impactful, as important, and as much of the soul as Jerome was. Just the sixth episode. We still got 4 more of these. If any of the rest of these episodes have the amount of intensity that this episode did have, I don't know if I'm going to actually be able to make it through them all without going into shock or like some type of convulsions, because this was a lot. From the stable point on, I was on the edge of my seat, and that is just damn good writing. I haven't had that happen since Breaking Bad towards the tail end of that year seasons, or even Better Call Saul. Yeah, we'll go a little bit more recently, but it's intense. What did you guys think about this episode, the 6th episode of Snowfall called Concrete Jungle? Or leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name that's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.